How much can one man take before he breaks? Let's run the numbers on Edgar Allan Poe. Age 3. Watches his mother die of tuberculosis. His foster mother, the first person to show him any real affection, she's gone too. His brother dies an alcoholic. His wife, the love of his life, Virginia, he holds her as she dies from tuberculosis. He's brilliant, but broke. A genius, but an outcast. He wrote that his life had been
whim, impulse, passion, a longing for solitude, a scorn of all things present.
This is the part of the story where they tell you the man shattered, where the pain and the poverty and the booze finally won. It's a neat, tragic little story, and it's a complete and utter lie. That suffering wasn't a poison that killed him. It was a fuel source, and he wasn't just enduring the chaos. He had engineered a system to leverage it. Are you ready to rock? Let's rock that wisdom! So what is the system? To understand it, you first have to unlearn the most dangerous lie ever sold to creative people. The cult of the tortured artist. You know, the romantic bullshit they feed us. That genius is an accident. A lightning strike in a bottle. A messy romantic hurricane of emotion that the artist just has to survive while the rest of us applaud their glamorous self-destruction. It's the voice in your head that sells you the seductive idea that the bottomless grief from a breakup or a loss isn't a wound to be healed, but a tragic identity to be worn. And they hold up Poe as their poster boy for this dogma. But Poe himself would have called bullshit. He wrote about his most famous work, The Raven, not as a moment of divine madness, but as a calculated act of engineering. His words,
"No point in its composition is referable either to accident or intuition. The work proceeded step by step to its completion with the precision and rigid consequence of a mathematical problem."
A mathematical problem. That isn't the diary of a man lost in a freaking storm. That is the lab notebook of the engineer who created it. And this matters because that lie, that myth, it gives you an excuse to be a victim. It tells you your chaos is a master you have to serve. Poe is the proof that your chaos isn't your master. It's raw material, an engine waiting to be aimed. So how did he apply cold mathematical precision to the raw material of his own suffering? He did something most people are too terrified to do. He stopped being the subject of his own suffering and became its chief investigator. His grief, his dread, his despair, he refused to just wallow in it. He put it on a goddamn laboratory table and started taking it apart. He wasn't asking,
"Why is this happening to me?"
He was asking,
"What are the mechanics of this feeling? What's its texture, its weight, its velocity?"
He stopped being the crash test dummy and became the engineer studying the playback in slow motion. He famously wrote about this method, stating,
"I prefer commencing with the consideration of an effect."
Think about that. He didn't start with what he felt. He started with what he wanted the reader to feel. He put himself in the producer's chair, deliberately twisting the knobs to get a specific, calculated result, be it melancholy, horror, or dread. This technique, this radical separation of the self from the suffering, this is the master switch. This is pain leverage. It's the decision to treat your own psychology not as a haunted house you're trapped in, but as a machine you can get your goddamn hands on. You're no longer the victim in the horror movie. You're the director, choosing the camera angles. So what did this director's toolkit actually look like? It wasn't a secret book or a magic spell. It was a set of 3 instruments he used to dissect his own hell. First, cold, brutal logic. This wasn't the journal of a patient describing his symptoms. This is the man who invented the modern detective story out of thin air. His character, Dupin, wasn't a brawler. He was a master of a cold analytical process of observation and deduction. Poe applied that same logic to his own emotions, analysing them like a crime scene, instead of just bleeding out on the floor. And that is the first tool you can take from him. Stop playing the victim in the crime scene of your own head and start playing the detective. The next time a wave of anxiety or dread hits you, your mission isn't to feel it. It's to investigate it. Ask it questions. What are your components? What's your motive? You're not the body on the floor anymore. You're the one with the notepad and the gun. Second, rigid, unbreakable structure. Take the Raven, the relentless rhythm, the maddening repetition of
nevermore.
None of it was an accident. He built that poem like a machine, with every gear and piston designed for one purpose, to create a feeling of
melancholy beauty.
The structure wasn't a cage for his creativity. It was the guidance system for the weapon, and that is a dirty trick you can play on your own brain. We're talking about performing an autopsy. The next time your mind is a riot, pick that one goddamn thing that's been gnawing at your skull. That pending, that problem, that fucking debt. Now tear it apart. No feelings, no bullshit. Just list the cold hard parts. Every component, every variable. Break it down until it's nothing but a list of dumb, simple facts. You've just hijacked the furious energy of the riot and put it on a goddamn leash. When you're done, you're not left with some vague feeling of inner peace. You're holding the monster's autopsy report. You're holding the evidence. And now, you're the one in charge of the crime scene. And third, and this is the kill shot, a deliberately chosen target. Poe didn't just throw his pain at the page. He decided in advance what effect he wanted to create. He wrote,
Of all melancholy topics, what is the most melancholy?
His answer, the death of a beautiful woman. He took the most unthinkable pain in his own life, losing Virginia, and instead of just bleeding out on the page, he reverse-engineered his own grief. He found the universal frequency behind his personal hell and built a weapon that would resonate with everyone. And that is the final act of leverage. Before you wade back into your own personal chaos, you stop and you decide what the moral of the story is going to be. You decide what brutal truth you will have forged when you emerge from the other side. You give yourself the final line of the chapter before you've lived it. This is the failure that taught me to burn it all down. This is the pain that finally forced me to get dangerous. This is the insult that made me bulletproof. This isn't hope, it's a spoiler. You are rigging the game in your own favour by pre-deciding the meaning of the outcome. It rips you out of the role of the helpless character and puts you in the author's chair with a goddamn pen in your hand. Logic, structure, and a target. That's not the toolkit of a victim. That's a goddamn weapon system. And like any weapon, it's useless until someone has the guts to pick it up. So the question is, do you? The pain isn't going anywhere. The chaos, the weight, that's a permanent feature of the human operating system. And you have a choice. The same choice Poe faced in his own private hell every single day. You can let it be the boulder that crushes you, or you can see it for what it truly is. An anchor point, a place to get leverage, the logic, the structure, the target. That isn't just a toolkit, that's the lever. So stop trying to outmuscle your own suffering. Find the fulcrum and apply the goddamn pressure. That is how you leverage pain.